US actions against TikTok could have a knock-on effect for the rest of tech. Instagram head Adam Mosseri tweeted that a ban would be quite bad for Instagram, Facebook and the internet more broadly. Meanwhile, VPN use is spiking and TikTok's most popular star, Charlize D'Amelio, has joined its rival app. Moselle Thompson is a former commissioner for the US Federal Trade Commission and former member of Facebook's advisory board. He joins us live now from Delaware via Skype. So let's just start with these new restrictions, Moselle, on TikTok and WeChat coming Sunday. What stands out to you, first and foremost?
Well, one of the things that strikes me is this is really unusual. This whole transaction is really unusual for a couple of different reasons. First of all, that the U.S. has always been a champion for openness, and we've criticized other countries for blocking our companies, and now we're doing exactly the same thing. We may have a legitimate reason because of a national security interest, but what's also unusual about this is the president's direct personal involvement, which is something I don't think anyone has seen before.
So you talked about national security. I want to read you something that actually Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross said. He said, "Today's actions prove once again that President Trump will do everything in his power to guarantee our national security and protect Americans from the threats of the Chinese Communist Party." How much of that statement do you agree with? How much of it do you think is fair, just, and valid?
Well, it's all in the details, and I'm not sure we know what the details are yet. If there's a legitimate concern about the Chinese government being able to look at the actions and transactions of American users, that's one thing. But then there's the next level down, which is, do they want to understand the data flow, what kind of things people are doing, what kinds of things are saying? It may not be dealing with the individual, but what groups of individuals do or what they are saying. I haven't seen a lot of that discussed in the context of this transaction. You see more noise about the idea of a sale, which I think is what the president may have been contemplating, and the proposal with Oracle, which doesn't really quite do that. So it creates a degree of uncertainty, not only with this transaction, but in the marketplace that we have never seen before.
So you touched on this, and I want to get you to dig deeper. What sort of retaliations are we likely to see in terms of how the Chinese deal with American companies now that we're seeing these increased restrictions on the likes of TikTok and WeChat? How does that affect relations with Beijing, and what sort of retaliations could we see over there?
Well, that's going to be an interesting question, because what a lot of people may not recognize is that the Chinese have already blocked many American companies from doing business there. You can't get to Google and you can't get to Facebook in China right now, partly because they made a demand that they want to have access to the data on Chinese people. And there was concern about censorship and other things. So in this case, it's a little different. We're concerned about the Chinese government having access to data of American users. But still, it's yet to be seen whether there are other American companies who may want to get into China or are currently operating in China on the internet, who may see some blockage. We don't know yet. What's also very interesting so far is we haven't heard anything yet from the Chinese government in response to what we've heard from the U.S. in the past several days.
Right, so there are already restrictions on several American tech companies operating out of China, but there could be further restrictions. There could be some form of retaliation. So with this deal with Oracle, just walk us through what your thoughts are on just how much this alleviates some of President Trump's national security concerns, if at all.
Look, if they are structuring it so that there is a cross-investment deal. For example, there's a trade of Oracle stock for an interest in ByteDance. That's one thing, and I see that they contemplated some sort of IPO that allows investors to invest. That might be good, but it doesn't necessarily directly address the data flow question. I see that there was discussion of having a spin-off in the United States. and having data in the United States, but it's yet to be seen how much access anybody or the Chinese have to that. The devil is in the details in that regard. What's also kind of interesting here is that Oracle is not really a what I call a retail consumer-facing company. They usually have been involved in data and also in business to business. So this is something new for them. And I see that they've been, Walmart has been trying to partner with whoever winds up here. It'll be very different and something new for everybody involved.
And just in terms of a Biden presidency, obviously we've got less than 2 months to go until the election. Can a Biden presidency undo any of this, especially when it comes to WeChat specifically? Obviously, with TikTok, that deal with Oracle looks like it's going to go through. We'll see. But with WeChat, can a Biden presidency change anything?
Well, what's happening here so far, it's done in the context of executive orders. Executive orders are subject to change with the new executive. This is not done legislatively. And so there may be different findings. They maybe have a different perspective on what they expect the details to look like. So I would stay tuned for the News 11 to find out what that's going to look like if there's a subsequent change.
And I do want to touch on just how this changes the social media landscape in the U.S. More broadly. Adam Mosseri, the head of Instagram, actually said the U.S. TikTok ban would be quite bad for Instagram, Facebook, and the internet more broadly. He's asking just to put aside thoughts about competition because of freedom of expression and due process of law. What do you think the implication is going to be for other social media companies, given what's happened to TikTok and WeChat in the U.S.?
One of the things that social media companies, American social media companies, have done around the world is they have been champions for openness. When I say that, they don't like bans, they don't like censorship. There are countries around the world who are very, very aggressive in wanting to block certain kinds of content, certain views, and our companies have fought those around the world. It's yet to be seen if we go forward in this manner with WeChat and TikTok, whether that invites other countries to do the same with our companies. I would like to see some further thinking and discussion about that as a policy matter, because that's something we're going to have to live with long after this transaction does or does not happen.
All right, Moselle Thompson, live for us there. Thank you so much.